Right folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the wild landscape of Scotland. And in today's video I've come to a crazy little location here, which is actually, well, we're starting at this small dam, and just check that out for a scene of wild Scotland. But there's a cool, even bigger dam a bit further up the glen. I thought it's a cool little walk on a day like this. I've put on my woolly hat because it's like 4 degrees Celsius out here now. And this is a cool little starting point on this adventure. Again, because I think this is like a secondary lower dam, so they can control the flow of water which is leaving the higher up dam. There's so much control of water in Scotland, it's crazy. And I love exploring dams and stuff like this. Check this out folks, wow, look at the big pipe. Look, the water's actually flowing out here as well. What a scene of history this is folks. Just think when a thing like this was built, probably back in the early 1900s. And it looks like these outer walls are just built with like the rough hillstone. Look at that folks, the little dam. What a cool starting place this is in the video folks. I love stuff like this when I get to see the wildness of nature combined with the industry of humans. It's crazy the things that's been built. The size of this massive cast iron outlet pipe here. Yeah, I totally love stuff like this folks. Anyway, I just thought it was a cool starting point on this video to come down to this little dam. But the main objective is I'm on a mission to go to the proper like big dam, just a wee bit further up the glen. So let's get into this adventure folks. This must be a little control shed. Maybe they can operate like the overflow if it's like that big pipe. Maybe they can control the water going out and into that, depending on the storm conditions, because a lot of water can start flowing down these glens all of a sudden if there's some mad storms further up. Check this out folks, there's 2 little bits of stone here to help climb over the fence. I love adventures like this that take me through the wild landscapes of Scotland. Like, it's breathtaking. There's a real spring atmosphere in the air. Look at that folks, the beautiful scene of the old like abandoned farm at the far side. I think they still actually use, it's maybe not actually an abandoned farm so to speak, because they still use the shed for like their operations when they're doing sheep and stuff, kid. But you can see for the lie of the land, there's 2 dikes and stuff lead down the middle. It's so interesting to imagine the old history here and the reason they might have put a track down to the burn like that. So I believe this Loch Shandra Dam was built in the late 1800s, and it'll be fun to have a look at what's left, because it's been a couple of years since I was here. I used to love walking up here back in the day when I first started my YouTube channel. I think this was one of like the first places that I came to, and I'm sure there's a wee shed with actual, the valves and stuff still in the shed. There's no doors or anything on the shed. The crazy overflow, an area like this with an old dam, it's got so much character. The character of an abandoned cement structure. It just looks crazy once the moss and once nature starts taking back over. And then this beautiful landscape that I'm walking through on the way up here, it's just magical. But the road that I'm dealing with is just super muddy. There's maybe some forestry operations going on further up here. Check this out, folks. This is the old overflow and the old dam wall that I'm sitting on now. It's so windy at the top of here because we're right at the foot of the glen, and it's a wild scene. Up at the top of the hill behind me, I can actually see one of the old abandoned houses that I explored last year. What a crazy landscape this is, folks. Just check out this ancient construction. Most likely built at the end of the 1800s. When Britain was at its most powerful, and there were so many dams and stuff built in the Angus Glens all over Scotland. Check this out, a man-made waterfall, folks. I'm not sure if this dam was like modified or changed at a certain time later in its life. I'm not sure if this was all improved on or if this was how it originally looked. But it's mad to see a massive cement construction like this just built in the wild landscape of Scotland like this, folks. It's so mad. The wind is so powerful today up this glen. Check this out here, I'll peek around the corner. Wow. It's a majestic scene out here, folks. I just love seeing stuff like that. It's almost like it's built in sections, or maybe it was poured up against some sort of wooden boards. Now the moss and the wildlife is just taken over. One time I was here, there was just tons of frogs. And it was so cool to see. Like, they must have been enjoying the wet environment around here and breeding or whatever. Anyway, let's head on and look at this shed over here. Check it out, folks. This is what I love, the old construction. I always imagine the workman that was here building a thing like this. I often imagine how the land looked here before they started the construction. And just think how massive areas of this land was flooded from the water. So there's one of the outlets right there. Wow, here we are, look at this. This is so cool, folks. The character of those pipes, corroded. I always say the character of things, but like that's what makes these places look so special. The way they start to degrade after time is as they sit out here in this crazy damp environment. Hundreds of years just pass. Stuff like this just sits in here. You see those loops on the roof there, and I believe that was probably when they were lifting in some of this heavy equipment. The massive valves and pipes. And I think I'll step over to the top of this pipe. There we go, folks. Crazy scenes. We've made it. We're in the history right now, and it's so good being out of that strong wind up the glen. Look how they've put this cement render over the top of the wild bricks. It looks like they've picked these stones up just on the hill here to build their construction. And it's crazy to think, like, it would be so interesting to see the way this dam was constructed, because I do love visiting dams, and the way all the dam walls are built is different, and the fact it's holding back such a pressure of water, it's just mad to think about. And it's stood here for this many years. Look at that, the big metal loops. It looks almost like an old railway rail that's up there. Maybe from the old days of the steam railway. Look, there's the marking on there. Open and shut, it says. Yeah, that was so cool to see that. I think there's actually a stone here. I'll be able to step and then jump. Yes, here we go, folks. This is proper deep, I believe. I don't really want to be standing in that. I just wanted to come and document the history. Imagine the force of water, which things like this deal with, the size of this and the scale. The thickness of the pipe is not quite as big as what we saw in recent adventures, when we were at that aqueduct. But this is still some massive old construction. Like I say, 1800s I believe, but it could be early 1900s. And it's mad to think all this here was built up and then gradually the water would have collected. The original river must have just flowed down here, similar to where the overflow now goes. But obviously the overflow is set, so like it's always, once the water gets to that height, it just continuously flows. And then with a system like this, they could actually come down here and release some extra water. And I believe that small dam that we saw at the start of the video was used to control the water. Kind of, if there was a lot of water flowing over this overflow, they'd be able to kind of slow it down if it was getting too high further down the glen. And that is so cool, eh? Like, we're discovering often like industry of the glen when we're on these adventures. It's just little forgotten places hidden in wild landscapes, most commonly now explored by sheep. Yeah, it's proper mad. I'm wanting to just go and have a look over the overflow, looking up the loch, because that would be a special scene. Just check the way that cement is on the roof. I'm always interested in the construction and documenting it, so if anything ever happens to these places, it's cool to see how it was on the video at a certain time. Look at this, folks, this is a special bit here, because you can actually climb along and look along the loch. We're right below the water of the loch right now, which is so cool to see. Loch Shandra. Look at this. How is that for a scene, folks? The waves of the loch trickle over this overflow day and night. It's like exploring a Scottish postcard for these adventures. That strong ice cold wind just coming right in there. And this is an area here which frogs and stuff just absolutely love, and you can see why. It's a damp, wet environment for them. But also they can go into the stones and hide. Yeah, it's a cool environment here. I just love seeing that. And I can see that little abandoned house at the top of that green field up there. It just adds to the scene of the glen. See, it looks like when the cement was poured here, somebody's actually stood in it. Maybe one of the workers that built this. Over the years, they may have been doing maintenance here. And obviously, this might not all be how it originally looked, because I believe this overflow looks like some of that cement could be newer than the original construction of the dam. And it was interesting because I thought it was a railway, like a rail line that I saw down in that building. But now I'm looking here, I'm actually seeing there's a drip of water on the lens, folks. I'll give that a wipe. But now I'm looking here, you can see these are old railway sleepers. So it shows at a certain time during the construction they've been using leftovers from the railway industry. And railway sleepers were used for a lot of stuff. You see them all over Scotland. The water's super clear. In this loch here, it's still used to this day for fishing. I remember years ago when I used to walk up here, probably like 10 or 15 years ago, there used to actually be boats lined up right along the edge of the dam. But there is still a little boathouse at the far end. An interesting thing, there's just tons and tons of sheep just right across the whole dam wall there. Look at this, how the construction here is rough stones, and then once it gets to a certain stage they've properly built this. And I actually think down here they've probably made it special so that as the water flows down in, it'll lose all its like velocity before it flows off naturally into the river. And that's what they did with these dams. But as long as I've known this place, the water's always just flowing at that side of this overflow. And I'm not sure if that was by intentional design or if actually it's just because it's gone off level over the years. What a place though, folks. It's been cool to come and see what we've seen. I just love it. Another bit of construction hidden in the wild landscape of Scotland, and we've managed to document it. Have a cool adventure along the way. Look at that, folks. Somebody's marked this bit of ground at a certain time. Look, with these two sticks, they've stuck them in there between the stones. And those 3 stones have been laid like that in a circle. Who would even know what that is meant to signify? So that's us back down at the bottom now, folks. And what a fun little adventure into the wilderness of Scotland it was. And that's me just about back at my car. I love just going into like crazy scenes like that and seeing what's left of a bit of history built there at an ancient time and still doing a job. I'm not sure if it's still a water supply to some houses or whatever, maybe in the glen or whatever, but it was cool to see on the video. And it's always fun to explore places like that, put the camera on along the way and see what we can see. But here's the car park here, so I'm going to end this one here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with the next one.